Hello and welcome back. So let's move on to our second solo. And if you want a really easy process on how to write a second solo, just do the same thing we did again. But I'm going to change the formula ever so slightly just to add in a bit of variety and kind of show off a bit of harmonic techniques or melodic writing techniques for this one. So let's write this out, and I'm just going to talk through the process of composing because it might give some ideas. So let's start with a bit of overlap again. And I need to remember that this time I'm writing for trombone, which means two things. Firstly, I've got to remember that there is a I'm in bass clef. There is a kind of a reading thing. I'm not used to reading this alto, the treble clef, not the bass clef. So I just have to keep that in mind because it can catch you out. And second thing is, remember that a trombone's going to be playing this. So we've got to keep it idiomatic. And I think a good way to do that is to add in lots of repeated notes. So I'm going to keep that in mind. Obviously, I'm not going to bombard it, but I think repeated notes do sound quite good on the trombone. But also runs sound quite good when they're close together. So definitely that we're going to use lots of that 5, flat 5, 4, or the 4, sharp 4, 5 sort of motion. Let's start off with a kind of lead into the to our solo. So I want to have a kind of a 5-1. So I'll have GG here on the trombone. And I want to make this a bit higher. I don't want to keep the trombone down the low end. It's a solo. It needs to be highish. So da-da. And then where should I put this? I'll have this up here. I'm going to hit the C. There we go. So where did I put the... Oh, there we go. Wrong bar. There we go. Let's have a quick listen. Da, 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 da. Yeah, we'll come up with some syncopation. So let's keep it slightly simpler for the trombone than we did for the saxophone. It's not quite as kind of dynamic. Oh, not dynamic. It can definitely get louder. Not quite as agile, kind of, as the saxophone. If you kind of laid all the instruments from kind of most agile to the least agile, there wouldn't be too much in it between the trombone and the saxophone, but the saxophone is definitely more agile. You'd have something like violin being the most agile on one end of the spectrum and something like the tuba being the least agile on the other. So let's just keep that in mind and calm it down slightly. Instead of the flurry of quavers we had over here, let's add in a couple more crotchets and kind of tied notes, just to kind of show a difference, kind of give the two solos a different feel. Let's target that F here. Oh, nope. So let's repeat that G and have a nice little kind of lead into that one using that blues note. Let's add in some syncopation. So we'll go... tie of the bar, the bass, the middle of the bar. Just make that a bit longer as well. We are writing for trombone. Actually, I'm going to add in a extra little technique. So this is how I'm going to write my solos. So we've so far have been using one palette of notes, which is the C blues scale, because we're in the kind of the key of C. I'm going to expand this palette. I'm going to write this out for you. So when we have a C chord, I'm just going to Control L. I'll write this underneath. We have the note C. Oh, no, I won't write it out there. Oh, no, it's just going to do that every time I do that, so I won't do that. We have the notes C, E flat, F, F sharp, G, B flat, C. And that's the kind of the palette of notes we've been using in. This time, I'm going to change my palette of notes every different chord. So when we have a C chord, we're going to use the C blues scale. But when we have the F chord, we're going to use the F blues scale. So I'm just going to quickly write that out on the saxophone. I think it would be easier. So we'll start off on F. We go up a minor third, so the flat 3, which will be A flat. We have the 4, which will be B flat. The blues note, or the blue note, which is going to be, it's going to be B natural, or C flat. I think we'll call it B natural, just for sake of brain power. We have the 5, the flat 7, which will be E flat, F. And just to get rid of that, just for a second, I'm just going to have a listen. So that is the palette of notes we're going to be using. So if you want to make a note of that, this is another set of notes we could use when writing over an F7 chord. So I'll keep it there. I won't play it for a sec. Let's add in something from that. So F is still part of both palettes. It's part of the C blues and the F blues scale. The B flat is as well. And we have C, that's also. So even though we haven't kind of left our palette, we've actually picked things that are in both palettes at the moment. So let's just change it ever so slightly just to give us a bit of... Oh, I know what we could do. Let's approach the C here. So that's our kind of target note. And we can approach that using this note here. So we've had a C, and we can just drop down to the B natural, which gives us a bit of chromaticism as well. So here we go. Let's have a listen. Oh, no, it's going to play the scale if I do that, so I'll just delete that as well. Da-da. Yeah, so that's kind of expanding our palette, and it adds in chromaticism, which is great. I'm happy with that. In fact, that's such a good note. Let's hold it. And then, because we've held it, we'll counteract that kind of lack of motion with a couple of quavers. So let's start up high. Let's go for like... Let's repeat a note. And I could hold this, or I could just have it as it is. So I could tie it. That. Oh no. Let's have a listen to both. No, that sounds better as a repeated note. I just think they sound amazing on the trombone. So lots of repeated notes. Let's have a bit of space again. Let's have like 1.5 beats of rest. Oh, and we're going to approach an F chord. So let's make sure we... Let's go down for this one. And I think I'll lead up and then jump down. So I hit the note C, and I could go kind of... That might work. No, I want to go up. I want to... Da, da, da. I think that's where that's leading to. That kind of... Yeah, so I can repeat these previous ideas. So the kind of the quave, the tied... No, the dotted crotchet, sorry, then to the held note. So let's try that. So... da, da. Let's go down to the... Oh, we can use our new palette. So, what else was in our palette? Or, let's expand our palette even further. So, if we have weird extensions, we could use a chord tone from this. And we've got the... Oh, I didn't add this in here. Oh, I need to go back and add that in. C7, F7, add 13. So, that is going to be... Oh, that would be absolutely massively bad for kind of point loss. So I'm guessing some people watching this will have gone, oh my goodness, he hasn't done it in both lines, even though he said to do that. Which is, yeah, oh, I should have done that, even though I've made a point of saying, oh, make sure it's the same several times. Add 13. There we go. Oh, and we'll also have to do it near the end of the piece. Ooh, that could have been bad. Right, now that I've fixed that, that could have been a catastrophe. Let's use a chord tone. So we were having kind of a line cliche, the D, down to the C, down to the B flat. Let's outline that D. Why not? Let's add in that you know what, let's hold it. Let's really make clear that this is a kind of line cliche. So where was that? Here we go. Da 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 da. Ba da da. Yeah, that's great. So what we're doing here is I wanted the F7 add 13, which would be D. And so I'm outlining that on the melody, which is a really kind of brings emphasis to it, which we're already used to because we've heard that progression twice before. So having that D there is kind of using notes outside the palette but in the chord tone. That's great, yeah. And it'll kind of, or it kind of, you could hear that as a kind of making it a bit of a minor chord, the D minor extension chord. So that's kind of great. I like that. Let's da da da. I think would be a good kind of bit of quavers to counteract that lack of motion. Down a bit. There we go. So, yeah, we'll go for the. We're back on the. What was the F? Let's just write out the palette again quickly. So, F A flat, B flat, B natural, C, E. No. Yeah, C, E flat, F. So let's pick a. Let's have the kind of the trill again, just to definitely make sure that we're definitely using this kind of C F blues scale. So we'll have C, B, the natural. I don't need to write natural, do I? Technically no, so I'll leave that there. Da da da. And just leave a bit of space. Then I'll go back to kind of quavers. E flat. Let's use one of the notes we haven't used. We haven't used A flat, have we? So yeah, just to use some more notes from that extended palette. And then let's hold it again. Bring the motion down and hold one of the chord tones, maybe the C or the G. Let's go for the G. And get rid of that. Let's add in some real syncopation. Let's hold something over the bar line. So we held the 5 of the blues scale. Let's jump up to the main one. And then let's hold that. We've barely done any over the bar line holding so far. Yeah. And I want some probably quavers to lead into the G here. So how can I best do that? Let's build up to a real climax here. So I want to lead up to a G, an octave up. So let's have a run. So it'll be down from below. That would be if I go no, let's go chromatically using that kind of blues scale. So we need an E flat here. So we go kind of up the blues scale from C, E flat, F, F sharp, Let's really kind of bring it. This is the climax of the piece. This bar here. It's the G. It's the one time we get the 5 chord. Let's go for it. And let's also use the same rule again. We can use the G blues scale. So let's quickly write out the G blues scale, just so we know it. So that'll be 1 flat 3, which will be B flat. 4 sharp 4 or flat 5, C sharp, D, F natural, G. Let's just have a listen to. Just get rid of that for now. Yeah, let's use some notes from that scale. So these are the notes we have available: G, B flat, C, C sharp, D, F, G. Just to expand our palette, we're going to use another blues scale. So just picking notes out of that. Let's go not too high up. We're already pretty close to the end of the register. So G up to the B flat. Yeah, and let's hold it. Da 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 da. Yeah, and then we'll have all quavers here, kind of outlining that chord we have. So let's G. Let's add in some of those. Ooh, what note should we go to? Let's go to D. If we go to D, then we could kind of have the blue note in there. So let's go D, D flat or C sharp. And let's kind of zoom out a bit. Oh, I haven't actually edited these bars to be on the same line yet. 4, 4. Just get rid of that. We know what palette we were using. And then we've got our F chord again. So let's keep using, just as a kind of a quick exercise while I'm doing this piece, I'm going to use the F blues scale here. So I could have, what might work well? Let's have more notes in. Let's go to quavers. We're keeping the motion going. B flat is part of it. So let's add in the blue note of this blue scale, which would be that, to C, to the E flat. Let's tie it over the bar line. We want to end on the note C, so we'll go from below. Could go chromatically. But I think return to the kind of blue scale normally. And hold this one as well. Great, that sounds like it might make a good solo. Let's have a listen from the end of the saxophone solo. And then we're back to the head. So that is most of the kind of written work done. I just heard one thing I didn't quite like. Da 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 da. Maybe would technically work better. Da da da. No, because yeah, there we go. Because it's not E flat. No, because we're in bass clef. Ooh, got to make sure I'm sticking to the right clef. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I'm quite happy with that solo. So I wrote this one had trombone in mind, so it was less agile, but he definitely makes the most of those kind of repeated notes when possible. And it's finding out what sounds good on each instrument. So I'd recommend, if you're writing a saxophone solo, listen to some saxophone solos. If you're writing a trombone solo, listen to some trombone solos. You'll pick up ideas, you'll pick up kind of common patterns that they use, which kind of really shows how you're kind of thinking about the instrument. It's not just a solo that can be played by any melody instrument. It's what works good for you. You know, if you're using something like the violin, you can have double or triple stops and kind of outline those chords as you do that. That'd be great. Violin would be great at going over the kind of massive jumps. That would work great. And if you want some violin music, you should listen to something like gypsy jazz is the genre of kind of French jazz music. And every different instrument kind of has its own unique aspect to bring. And we'll tidy all of this up and make it a bit more idiomatic and fix this problem of being out of the range by a simple change of the instrument, probably. I think this might work better on the different instrument. But for now, let's just quickly summarise on what we have for our solo. So it's the exact same rule as last time, points as last time rather, apart from different instruments. So I'm using more repeated notes and kind of slowing it down a bit, using less quavers and more crotchets and ties sort of thing. And also I have expanded my palette, so you no longer have to stick to one blues scale. You can use whatever chord blues scale you have. The only exception would be if you have kind of like the sharp 4 diminished one I mentioned. That would change it slightly. But you know, if you had a 2-5-1, so in this key that would be a D chord. So if you have a D minor somewhere, going D minor, G, C, then on that D minor chord you could use the D blues scale. That is absolutely fine. And there are other palettes of notes available, which I will just mention here. Don't worry too much about it, but you can also use the blues scale of the relative minor. So for example, on a C major chord you could use the A blues scale because they line up very well. But don't worry about that now. Just remember that there are other palettes available to you, and you can add in chromaticism and you can add in all this sort of stuff, but the blues scales are the place to go for this kind of blues composition, obviously. So I'm going to leave that solo there. I'm quite happy with that, and I'll see you in the next video for the kind of, we're going to wind up this piece. Let's see you in the next one.